Welcome to the Greatness Together podcast. Curious minds unite. Mother-daughter conversations that delve into the heart of psychology. Thanks for joining us.
Señoras y señores, ladies and gentlemen,
And
y otras, and others. I am here with my extra to talk about some of my mental strategy type thingies that I have accumulated over the years. Today, I'm going to be talking about 3. First will be journaling for a hectic mind. Third will be second will be how do I explain it? It's like I talked about it in our other episode.
we will put it in the show notes. We will find
It will be in the show notes. But it's like, it was expectations. Our expectations episode. So it's about like when you have high expectations, how to like kind of mentally prepare for if something doesn't work out.
Yes.
And then my third one is looking at your sources when worried about something. So,
God, this is nice.
Number 1. So I detest journaling because I don't have the patience and I just don't have the patience. So I've tried many times to sit down with my thoughts and just blah, 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 but I can't. So something that I do is I have like the voice notes app in my phone. So I literally just talk to myself for like 20 minutes and I'm just like blah, 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 blah. Because you can say so much more because like you talk faster than you write. And it's just like not as boring as journaling. And you can look back on how you felt about a situation when you're trying to make decisions. Like if you're debating ending things with a friend, you could be like, I'm going to look back to the time when I was mad about something with that friend, and I'm like, wow, this is how that made me feel. Okay, bye. Second,
Can I give folks an idea related to that?
My extra has an opinion.
Well, I love this idea. I love this idea because you're right. There's no one way to journal. So I love how you have a voice journal. And if people want it to be written, they could use the voice dictate feature of something like Google Drive.
True.
So you can, or I mean, you could use Zoom because I'm pretty sure Zoom has an AI translation. You could use your voice note and then send it to rev.com, have it translated. So I guess if anyone's listening to this going, I really love that idea. However, I also need to see it.
Yeah.
Or I want to see it documented. There's a way to make that happen. I love
Me.
I love you. I love your idea. And I actually think that you're not giving yourself enough credit for being patient.
That's true. I am a patient person. I just don't
You're a very patient person.
writing. Also,
It takes a long time to write or type something
and
versus your thoughts.
the times when I would be journaling would be like at night, and I'd much rather be like watching a movie or something. So I'd rather do voice notes. Okay.
I love how you found a way to make the strategy work so that the genesis of the value of the strategy is you just kept persisting until you found a way for the core objective to get your ideas out, to see how you feel, is you've managed to find a way to make it happen. And you don't, sometimes we say the how, thinking that that's the most important part, but you've distilled that it's actually not the how of writing it down. The process is getting your thoughts out, honoring and getting the thoughts out, and therefore it's actually what you're trying to do. That's more important than the how.
Exactly.
Fantastic.
So
claps to that. Yes. Number 2.
So as talked about, as I already mentioned, I already talked about this in our expectations episode,
Mhm.
but this is a thing that I keep in mind whenever I have high expectations or something, or when I want something to go according to plan, because I do have high expectations, and I don't do very well. I don't really like when plans change. So I always got to keep this in mind, and I do it like for example of when I used this was when I wanted to hang out with a friend. I was really excited, but I was like, there's like a doubt in my mind where it was like, it couldn't, like, there's a possibility that it won't happen because like she wasn't really answering her phone. Later, I found out that that was because she was sleeping, because she was sick. So I was like, before I called her and was like, okay, what's the plan? I kind of made um like a mental preparation of like something to fall back on. So, yes, I was excited to hang out with her, but something that I like prepared my mind for is like um thinking of what good things could happen if it doesn't work out. So, yes, it would be fun to hang out with her, but also I could go home earlier or I could get some more work done or I could get to bed earlier and that type of things because that'll really just like help you um like cope with high expectations, having something to fall back on and you know make
It
you
shows flexibility
mm-hmm
because there are so many things that are beyond your control,
mm-hmm
and it allows you to not have success only defined in one specific way, and allows you to be a lot happier if you can be flexible, which isn't to say no you're not giving yourself permission to have a desire for it to happen. So it's not like if you called her and she's like, yeah, I decided not to hang out with you, and being like, that's okay, I was gonna go home and I had already decided. That's not what we're talking about.
mm-hmm no
But you're like, if the circumstance doesn't work out, that's okay. I'm still allowed to have a good day.
exactly. Yeah. So this third one I find it kind of hard to vocalize, but it makes a lot of sense in my mind.
I bet you it's gonna make sense as you vocalize it too.
I hope
Give it,
so.
give it the listeners, give the
So it
listeners what they need.
started in grade 10 in Miss Murray's law class when she was teaching us how to research and like find reliable sources. So there was a lot of criteria that made a source reliable, like the date, the publisher, the author, peer reviewed. I don't think we did that in grade 10, but just like those were the things that made a resource reliable. And I use that when thinking about if like something I'm anxious about, if the things that are making me anxious, if those are reliable. So for example, I don't know, maybe I heard like a big bang outside and I'm like, I jump right to conclusion. I'm like, oh my God, there's a burglar or dad fell off the ladder or like like a we're getting attacked by zombies or something. And then I look at the sources that make me think that. And then I kind of retrack back and think of like why I shouldn't be thinking that. Like the bang could have easily just been like a bird or like a tree branch or maybe someone dropped something in the living room. It's like I don't know. I kind of use it to like write off my worries, if that makes sense. Because I look at the sources that are making me think my worry, and then I think of like why I shouldn't be worrying. Like if you're worried about like turbulence in an airplane, you just gotta, and you're like, oh my God, it's all shaky and my drink's spilling everywhere. You're like, we must be crashing. But then you gotta think of why you're not crashing, which is why no one has ever died of turbulence. Turbulence isn't when the plane is doing backflips in the air. It's just like when it's shaking a bit. Like it's actually a fact that no one has ever died of turbulence. So yeah,
Mhm.
Keep those in mind when you are journal, but you are when you're like in a rush or like a little hectic in the mind and you
Mhm.
just like want to get it down, but you maybe don't have a piece of paper, you can use the second when you don't want to be disappointed or when you don't want your expectations to disappoint you.
Mhm.
And the third, when you are worried about something, but you want to not be or want to be less so.
Can I say, I think all of these are examples of strong emotional intelligence.
Ooh.
Components of emotional intelligence, there is what's going on inside. There's going on things that are going on in how you process emotions. There's things that are going interpersonally. It's how you manage stress, and it's also how you make decisions. So there's a number of components, but can I just highlight? So those are like the 5 core buckets in the Barron EQI emotional intelligence model.
Ooh.
Can I identify a couple of the subdimensions that I just heard in those wonderful strategies?
I'd love to hear this.
One I already mentioned, flexibility. Flexible thinking is one of the most important forms of emotional intelligence because it means that you're able to trust your own resourcefulness and the resourcefulness of the environment in which to be able to adapt. And we need to be able to adapt literally, evolutionary wise. We could not survive if we didn't adapt. The other thing I heard, which was strongly related to that, is reality testing. So we can tell ourselves that we can make an assumption. The plane is crashing. The dad fell off the ladder. My friend doesn't like me, which is why she's not answering the phone. However, there are so many other dimensions to that circumstance. And so you're testing to see if what you think might be happening is actually what's happening. Interpersonal relationships is an important dimension of emotional intelligence. You care enough about your relationships that you do not want to believe believe the worst in them, that you are going to believe that your relationship is strong enough and that confident enough in yourself, which is also another dimension of emotional intelligence, that you can personally manage that and your relationship can manage that. Emotional self-awareness, noticing that there's something going on that requires you to journal, voice journal, written journal, whatever. Check in about how you feel about your relationship and so forth. So this is a great example of how you can come up with a suite of coping strategies. And the more you do that, the more you will be better able to manage the world in a joyful, confident, and less stressful way.
Indeed, so shout out to Miss Murray.
Yes, shout out to Miss Murray.
Love you,
great
Queen.
Teachers. Shout out to all the great teachers.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're my teacher.
Yeah. Oh.
Not
And you're my teacher. You're my teacher. I'm gonna take those strategies. I need to use those strategies more so, Simonne. Oh man. If I were as wide as this, Simonne, at 18, wise. If I were as wise,
Wide.
I said it with an accent. If I were as wise as Simonne when I was 18, oh my gosh, lass. No, if I were as wise as you at 18, I think I was pretty aware and I was pretty confident and I was pretty full on in my life. Oh man, you've got a grasp on your inner world in a level that it took me decades. And I'm still learning from you.
Well, I got the best teacher.
I love you. I love you. Please comment on which strategy you use successfully and which one you plan to try.
Indeed so.
Thanks for sharing your tips, Simonne.
Anytime. Peace out, humans. Hope I helped you. Shout out Miss Murray.
Shout out Miss Murray.
Thanks so much for joining us for the Greatness Together podcast. Never miss an episode. Subscribe wherever you catch your podcasts. Yours in greatness, Simonne and Sarah.